If you did any racing at Bathurst this week, this is probably a tragically familiar sight to you. In this instance, it actually gained us a couple places in our race, but I'll go into the details in just a bit. It's been a while since we had an upload, and that's because A, I wanted to take a little bit of a break from iRacing, and B, when I came back, I really focused hard on practicing for the 12 Hours of Bathurst race. This is my first real endurance race. It's my first time having other people counting on me to not wreck the car, and I wanted to really take all the time to make sure that everything was right. I did not do any other driving except for getting ready for this. I was teamed up with Antlands and Crush Maldonado. I'll have their links in the description below. I was lucky enough to get an invite from them, but they're both, frankly, way better drivers than I am. But I definitely needed the experience, especially getting this done before trying to do the 24 at the Nürburgring. Looking back at it now, I'm glad I made this decision because I would not want to jump into that race with no experience on how to do this. You have to pay attention to strategy, you have to drive differently, honestly, especially if the car takes damage, which we did. And I think spotting is maybe the biggest adjustment you have to make. It's a real skill set. You have to be watching a car or two ahead of your driver, but still thinking about where they are on their track to give them useful information. And depending on how late it is, you might also just need to talk to them to help them stay awake. So even though, in my case, I only had 2 stints in the car, or I guess a double and then a 1-hour stint because the damage worked out, I ended up spending a lot more time engaged in the race because I tried to spot as much as I could for my teammates. The race itself went pretty well. We qualified, I want to say mid-pack on lap 8. As you'll see here, we had an accident. Ant was trying to let a faster car go by, but the faster car, I guess, wasn't paying attention, plowed right in the back of us, sent us into the wall. We had a lot of damage, down on power. Took a good 45 minutes of repairs to get the car back on the track. Ant got back in the car, busted out a lot of 207s, was really, really quick, handed it over to me. I was not quick, but I can say that I had a pretty safe drive. I had 1 spin, wasn't too bad. I didn't cost us a lot of time or anything though, and I just had a mostly clean and consistent 2 hours. After that, Crash took over and had a pretty good stint as well. It's interesting to see, even though tire performance drops off over time, it's pretty interesting to see how good drivers can really squeeze out lap times that you wouldn't expect that late in the stint. And on top of that, we were driving pretty much the whole 12 hours with bent steering. We got our first repair done. It was like a little canted to the right, and then I had a 0x bonk on the wall in forced elbow, and then it was canted to the left, and this ended up being an issue through the whole race where every time we came in the pits to do a little bit of repairs, the steering would be pointed in a new direction. And that was where I failed in terms of practicing. All of my practice I did on a completely healthy car, on fresh tires and all that stuff, so when it came time to drive a broken 488, I was way off the pace that I expected for myself. But despite all the damage to the car and the complete chaos of trying to drive on Bathurst, we slowly climbed positions over the next 11 or so hours and ended up getting all the way up to 14th. And most importantly, finishing the race, which for me was my goal going into it. And the fact that we did that while having a pretty clean race minus the punt we got from another driver at the start, I'm putting this one in the win column. And I had a good enough time that I'm already looking forward to the next one. I'm going to try to find a seat for the Sebring 12 hour. If that doesn't happen, then in April we have the 24 hours of the Nürburgring in the TCR already lined up. That one is going to be a real challenge. The channel moving forward is going to get a little bit back to normal in the next week or two as we finish up the season and start a new season. I think next season, especially after Bathurst, I'm going to do a lot more 488 driving. There's rumors of a new GT3 series coming out, but maybe talk about some of that when we do like a season wrap-up. Got some more historical car videos on the way as well, and some other plans for content for the channel, but until then, see you on the track.